with me a moment. Just getting everything together. All right, and we are live on Facebook, and we are now recording my podcast. So I'm on different platforms, recording different things. So I can hope you can hear me. Okay. Let me know. Give me a shout out if you can hear me all right. So I'm streaming into Hope When There Was None. I'm coming on. It is live for today. It's my survival versary. I'm sorry, I'm on my phone. So if I'm looking in different places, that's why I'm just using different tools right now to help me be live. So today is a very special day. It is 14 years. It's my survival versary. That's what I call it. It's survival versary. So I get some burning questions. People have asked me from time to time. So what is today? What did it look like for me 14 years ago today? Well, the planning. So when I started my journey, let's go back. I'm a childhood abuse survivor. If you haven't met me before, I am a domestic violence survivor, also experienced teen dating violence. I share my story to inspire and also empower others to know that they're not alone. So that's why I'm here today. When I started this journey, I did not want to do this. I am very spiritual, let's say very spiritual. And I had this big hug from the spirit, from God, that was telling me that he wanted me to share in a big way. And I was not ready to do that because it was embarrassing. I was ashamed. Who wants to hear my dirt? Really and truly, who wants to? And why should I give advice to others when I did not know whether I was going to the left, to the right, up or down? But of course, it wasn't for me to do that. It was for me just to continue to share and hold space for others. So going back, my youngest experience that I can recall is seeing my mom on the floor. She was in the kitchen, and I just remember my dad. Now I'm going to say trigger warning ahead of time, okay? Trigger warning. So there will be things that I might say that could be triggering to somebody. So before I go further, if you want to turn this off, you go right ahead. I don't know how long this is going to be. I am doing this unscripted. This is also going to be found on a podcast on your favorite listening platform. So maybe you can't listen to it all. For social media, let's just say this, the management type of thing, that you only want to do this for 3 seconds or 10 seconds. So you might see short videos that I've been doing, 30 seconds, 60 seconds. This is going to be a lot longer. I don't know how long. So unscripted, bare naked. So I'm not bare naked, but you know what I mean. So going back into that kitchen, seeing my mom on the floor, seeing my dad straddling her. He had his hands around her neck, and I could hear, and what prompted me to look was I could hear this thud. It was just not so fast, but I could hear this thud, and it was a weird sound. So that's what woke me out of a sleep. I can hear some muffled cries and just other noises. I could hear my stepdad, and well, I knew him as dad back then. I could hear him. I couldn't make out exactly what they were saying, but me in my wee stupor, I was really little. I could, I just remember being scared because I saw him over my mom like that, and I could see him, and I could see there's tears crying. You know, she's crying. They're just streaming down her face. I could see her trying to pull his hands off of her neck, and she was not being very successful. But I remember her saying, "Don't let Mel see," and stop. Don't let Mel see. That kind of woke him up a little bit, but I do remember seeing that. I remember being scared. I remember her wiping away my tears, saying, "Oh, it's okay. We're just fighting." I remember her puffy eyes. I can remember that so well, just like it was yesterday, honestly. And I didn't understand it. I just know my mommy was hurting. I didn't know why he was hurting her. I didn't understand. Well, fast forward a little bit as time goes by. Then she started standing up for herself more, and in that confidence, in that now flipping the switch and having that control, he had nowhere to outlet that anger and any frustration or whatever his issue was. So he directed it on me. And I do not by any means, ever stretch of the imagination, blame my mother for taking her control back. I do not. And did she ever know what was going on with me? No, she never did. I didn't tell her. Again, that fear, being ashamed, and so on. So I never shared with her what he had then did to me. And I took that with me for many years until we finally left that situation. She got even more brazen and bolder enough to finally leave him when I was 13. And so that was the last time I had any kind of physical confrontation with him, because once again, that night was also scary when she left as well. We left with the clothes on our backs. Going forward into the future, I became a little defiant. I was very sexually promiscuous. I um, didn't settle down. I mean, I started dating, but I didn't settle down with anybody because I didn't want to have that kind of relationship. I told myself, I'm never going to be in that relationship like my mom was. I'll never let a man do that to me. So I dated on and off. Again, I was promiscuous. Sex feels good. Okay, it does. I'm not gonna lie. And so, am I proud of what I did or my behavior? No, I'm not. And I'm not condoning my behavior, saying, "Well, it's because I was messed up as a kid." We all have free will. So I took that free will and I did things that I wasn't supposed to do. And that was my outlet for one, getting love, because I craved being loved. I wanted someone to love me and take me for everything. And I wasn't seeing, and I let those nice guys, by the way, I didn't sleep with everybody. Just get that out of your mind. Um, but I let those nice guys slip out of my hands because they were just too nice. I wasn't used to somebody that wasn't beating on me or that wasn't name calling me. So, whether you want to call it the bad boy or whatever, but I did find somebody later. He liked my sass. He liked my moxie. He liked all of that. And he's like, well, that's what drew me to you. Friends of mine that I had at that time were very encouraging because they knew him. They thought he's a great match for you. He's so sweet. He's so kind. He helps people all the time, elderly and so on. Even though those warning signs were going off in my tummy, I still have little kids. They were going off, those warning signs, those signals. They were just so loud, and I could hear them in my mind saying, "No, you need just to stop." And I would even try to sabotage the relationship, the friendship at that point in time is what I thought it was. I would try to sabotage it by saying, "You know what? Hey, there's this other girl. We go to the mall, and I pawn him off on salespeople." There on other ladies, girls, and it just didn't work. And then eventually it got to the point where we were dating, and I always thought it was weird. Why is this guy showing up? Or actually, he would follow me to school in his car. He would right behind me and follow me. He'd call, because I did give him my number. Again, I listened to my friends. I didn't listen to my gut. I gave him my number. He would call the house all the time. He would wait for me because I did have a job. He would wait for me after work. Just different things that were just really weird to me. And I didn't feel comfortable with him needing to know, well, where were you? Who were you talking to? And, my friends thought, well, that's sweet. He wants to know, he wants to be with you all the time. He wants to just share all this stuff with you. And I just thought in my mind, like, this is really weird, but they're okay with it. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm just being weird about it myself. So I let it go. It came to the point where when I finally did want to break up with him, he threatened my family. He threatened to take his life. Later on, he threatened to take my life. And I couldn't do this anymore. It was so crazy. I would try to avoid him. We tried to break up many times. I tried to break up with him many times. It just wasn't happening. One time he was planning on going to a trip to California, possibly to live. And I was so excited because I thought of all the good things inside as he's telling me this. I'm like, yes, this is so cool. Finally, I can get free. I can be free of this guy. I was so excited. And he's like, why aren't you upset about this? You look like this is no big deal. Like, why aren't you more upset? And he was upset that I wasn't upset. It's like, oh yeah, I am upset. I'm so sorry that you're not going. And inwardly, I'm like, oh, yay. He didn't take it that way. He did sexually assault me we were in a car. He did sexually assault me in that. Afterwards, he took me home. No one was home, thankfully, I think. But at the same time, I wish my mom was home so I could have talked with her. I never told her. I was very embarrassed. I was very ashamed. He made off. He knocked on the door. I can hear him knocking on that door and telling me, "Hey, I'll see you tomorrow at school." And hey, or I'll call you later. And I was numb. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to say. I just cried. Just kind of rocked behind the door and just cried. I didn't feel I felt, well, maybe I did something. Maybe I did something to provoke it. Maybe if I had shown more, all these thoughts are going through my head. If I had shown more emotion, and so on and so on, nothing changed. Going forward, nothing changed. We ended up getting married. The wedding was beautiful, but horrible. I was waiting for somebody, when the preacher says, "Who takes this? Does anybody object?" I was waiting for someone to stand up and say, "Yes, we object. Don't do this, Mel. Don't do this." But no one came through. No knight in shining armor. I literally wanted to throw open my shoes going up to the altar. I was hoping my mom or my dad would have said something like, "Don't do this. Don't." It was very emotional. The limo ride to the reception was horrible. He's like, don't dance with anybody. You are not allowed to dance with anybody that's not over 60. You are not allowed to like talk with anybody without me. And he gave me this little laundry list. We had some champagne in the car, and of course that made him sick. And we were big drinkers. I'm still not, but then it was just horrible. It was my fault because I pressured him to drink the champagne, and it's my fault that he felt bad. I just wanted the day to be over, and I just wanted to rewind. I wanted to rewind so bad, but I couldn't. I was stuck. I felt like a trapped animal. I literally felt like a trapped animal. He watched everything I did at that wedding. I just plastered on his face. I was in, as it is, when you go to these things, you plan these things. I was young. A lot of these people I didn't even know. I went to the bathroom and I felt, even though I'm surrounded by people in this reception, in this room, I felt so lonely. I felt so alone. I felt like I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know who to talk to. I didn't know what to do. I felt stuck. Later on down the road, and just going forward, the abuses didn't stop. Now, I want to tell you that there's different types of abuse. There is financial, there is emotional, there's mental, there's physical, there's sexual, there is cyber abuse, and child abuse, and other things are elder abuse and immigration abuse. Now, what I found going into my story as I've gone along, I noticed that sometimes, especially when you're just out of a relationship, some victims, and I've done it myself, if you're surrounded with other victims, you might do this. I've done this to where it's like, oh, well, my abuse was this. My abuse was this. So it's almost like you're making your story a little bit bigger and bigger. Or you'll have those others that will be like, well, my story isn't like yours at all. So maybe it wasn't that bad. So wherever you are in your story, it's abuse. Abuse is abuse, whether you're experiencing emotional, verbal, whether it looks like immigration abuse, whether you're being abused as a child, that sexual abuse, whatever it is, it's still abuse. It doesn't matter what it looks like. It's still wrong. And you are not to blame. It is not your fault. And I understand the shame. I understand feeling unworthy and those thoughts where you're thinking, well, maybe it was me. Maybe I led them on. Maybe I should have said something. If I would have done this or that. After leaving, by the way, skipping forward a little bit, someone had asked me, well, what does that look like for you after you left? Well, I was a mess in the marriage. I was a mess in that relationship. I was scared all the time. It was literally, you hear the cliche, you're walking on eggshells or waiting for the other shoe to drop. That was my life. I was waiting for that. I was very living in this stage where I was always having to be careful of my words, careful of my actions, careful of just every day. What am I doing? How, before the words came out of my mouth, I would have to watch them. I was apologizing all the time. I was always saying, I'm sorry for simple things, for things that weren't even my fault. And if you've been following me on the self-love challenge, a lot of what I've been covering for the month of February are things that I struggled with and that I see others struggle with. So if you follow me over the last few years during this challenge, you're like, Melinda, I saw that last year. Or, hey, I know we tackled this last year. Well, yes, it's because these are chronic things that I see happening to other beautiful spirits too, whether you're a man or a woman. I do see, so I will repeat them, rinse and repeat. You might need that. And sometimes I do too. I have to go back over these things. So during that, you're living in survival mode when you are with this person. Again, no matter what type of relationship you have, whether it's with a toxic parent, whether it's your boss, whether it is an intimate partner, you are living in survival mode. You will say, you may do anything you can in order to keep the peace, in order to survive. That's okay. You do what you have to do in order to keep going, but don't give up. Don't stop. Don't stop fighting. I kept knowing in my knower that something was off throughout this entire relationship. I wanted a relationship where I would look and see others. They were smiling. They were having good times. They were holding hands. They didn't seem to be, they might have had little fights, skirmishes here and there, but they weren't fighting over stupid reasons. They weren't fighting over dumb reasons. This person wasn't constantly being accused of cheating or of other things like that. I had to watch my mileage. If I was late, I had to tell him where I was, who I was with, what I was doing, all the time. He would call me several times throughout an hour to find out all of those things. Bless you. He would just the intimidation, the name calling, joking. I would be the butt of the jokes. Those things that he said he loved about me in the very beginning and early stages of our relationship became to be the things that he hated. And he would always say, well, my being silly and dressing the way I did. He wanted me to dress a different way. He wanted me to wear my hair a different way. He wanted me to look like the other girls. And I wasn't. He wanted me to be, I changed my hair color. I can't tell you how many times I would wear my hair color in different hairstyle in different ways. I kept it long. I went curly. I was redhead. I went blonde. I did auburn hair. I did whatever you could think, brown. He wanted me to look like some of the girls. I am Hispanic. He wanted me to look like some of the white girls. I'm not trying to be prejudicial, but he wanted me to look like them. I'm a curvy woman. I am not this little skinny thing. He was upset because I didn't have a thigh gap. He was upset because, I'm a little curvy. And he would make fun of my smile. He would pick on whatever he could just to knock me down, whatever he could. And I would just keep shrinking and shrinking and shrinking until I didn't feel like there was anything of me left. I would dress certain ways to please him. There were times if the kids weren't home, I would wear hardly anything or nothing at all. It started to evolve into call it BDSM. So it's a bondage and sadomasochism. So if you don't know what that is, it's where someone's taking a lot of control from you. I did meet a friend, Terry's friend, and he did teach me that there is safety. There can be safety in this world. There can be. You have to have trust, and it's built on that. It's also something where you have safe words and so on. With him, there was no safe words. It was always him in control. I'm doing a lot of speeding up here. Kids came, children came, and I thought, well, if I'm pregnant now, maybe when the kids come, he'll change. Maybe when we were married, he'd change. Maybe when the baby's born, he'll change. I would get kicked or punched in the stomach. He would told me that he wished that the baby would die, and that I would die while I was giving birth. He would later on during almost each of my times I was giving birth, during that moment, it's supposed to be a happy time. And he would be upset because I would shake. I was sweating. I was crying. I was groaning. I was moaning. These are natural things that you experience when you're giving birth, a natural birth. When you're in that's what you're going through. But I embarrassed him. He would tell me to shut up. He would tell me to be quiet. He took my hand and he'd squeeze it so tight that The labor pains weren't as intense as his hand squeezing. Those joyful moments were just anything he could do. After the babies, of course, they didn't improve. I didn't improve. So whoever's watching this, if you're saying to yourself, well, once we get married, maybe things will improve, they won't. Once we have those children, maybe he'll change or she'll change. Maybe she'll become more loving or he'll become more loving. They won't. And hi, Michael. Thank you. Hey, Mike. You start making these bargaining things. You keep going as you go on. Okay, maybe if we get more money, we always had financial issues and problems. Maybe if we get more money, things will improve. Maybe if we move into a bigger house, maybe. I kept bargaining and I kept telling, and I'm with God all the time. I'm with God, talking to Him all the time, saying, you know what, Lord, you know, when this happens, things are going to change. And I would always pray for him, but I pray for me because I thought I was the one that had the issues. I thought I was the one that was the problem. Now, I'm not saying that I'm not without fault in different things. I am just as guilty as the next person to have faults. I'm not perfect, but I didn't understand it and I didn't realize that. So I was reading all the Power of the Praying Wife. I was reading all the Christian books that I was supposed to, the biblical womanhood books, and going to God and being submissive, but not understanding what true submission was and is. Not understanding that. Thank you, Mike. Speak my truth. Yes, thank you. Not understanding any of that. Getting it all wrong. Also being in a church at that time that was believing in the headship of the home. I'm trying to use my words carefully. Believing in the headship of the home as male, but there was some twisting, okay? In which later on my now ex did, he would twist that scripture to suit his own needs. He would twist those Bible verses to his own needs. And I ended up with a sister wife. So again, I'm fast forwarding a little bit. Yeah, a sister wife. She ended up living with us. I moved out a week later. That was in 2007. No, actually, I take that back. The first time I left him was in 2000. Got married in my shop that I owned with him and family. He was upset that I wasn't coming home. He knew about this in advance. I had it planned. It was a potluck for the vendors and management. He knew about this in advance, but he wanted me home. He's like, you need to get home, be home by 5:30. We close at 5. He wanted me home by 5:30. And there's no way in heck that I'm going to make it home by 5:30 because of where we live. There's usually a train. There's no way. And he called me back again, get home. And I said, you know what? The kids are excited about this. I have the kids with me. They're excited. They want to experience this and have fun. And he's like, if you don't get home in a half hour, or else was it. And then later on came, I'm going to break your face. So I was with my mother-in-law at the time and my sister-in-law, and I told them what was going on. It just so happens a week before I had called St. Jude House. That is a woman sheltered by me. I was afraid to do so. I didn't want to do so, but I didn't know what else to do. I had no idea, but I'm conjuring up all kinds of ideas of what a woman shelter looks like and what it is. And I figured, you know what? This place is going to outweigh the challenges and the fear that I had of going home. So I went there. They gave me money, and I went there with what we had on our backs. That was the first time. I stayed away. Actually, I stayed away for a week. My mother-in-law had told me that he had tried to take his life. She's like, Robbie tried to take his life. Please take him back. He's changed. They gave him meds. He is much better now. And, he misses you. He loves you. I listened to what the psychiatrists were telling me. They were like, he has an unhealthy obsession with you. They gave me a laundry list of things that were that he had: the intermittent explosive disorder, he had borderline personality disorder, he had depression. There were a laundry list. I mean, there were like 10 or 15 things that he has challenges with. I went back. I listened to her. I felt bad. I felt guilty. He's going through all this stuff, And why am I not there for him? I'm supposed to be his partner, for better, for worse, despite of what I'm feeling, despite feeling that I'm just going through the motions. What about the kids? I came from an abusive relationship. Even though they were telling me at the shelter that I was abused, I didn't believe them. It didn't seem right. It's like, no, no, that's not me. This is, I'm looking for that J-Lo in Enough. I'm looking at the time it was a Farrah Fawcett. That's what I was looking, Farrah Fawcett in the burning bed. And I didn't see me as that woman. He doesn't drink. In that movie, if I recall right, he was a drinker. My ex wasn't a drinker. My then husband wasn't drinking. He wasn't on drugs. He would give the shirt off his back to help somebody, but then you would owe him big time for that later on. And whether you're a friend or family member or myself, you would owe him for that. So I didn't see myself as that woman. So I went back. A little bit later on, Kat came. Kat was my sister wife. And I left again because I didn't want to have anything of that. That was just too crazy. We were swinging. We were, again, in the BDSM world a little bit. And I was not happy with myself. Every time that we did something like that, I just felt like little bits of me were being stolen away each time. After every punch, after every time we had relations with somebody else. And I was my worst, after I finally left today, 14 years ago, I was my worst enemy. Anybody else out there listening can say, well, you should have left. What about your children and so on? Because they were going through their own things too. A lot of stuff I didn't know about until much later. I was my own worst enemy because I was the one like, you stupid B word. Why did you stay so long? Why did you allow it to get this bad? Why did you allow him to treat you this way, to treat your children this way? What kind of person are you? I would say all those things to me. My inner meaning would say that. Later on, I had to nourish that broken woman. I had to take her because I don't recognize that lady, that person anymore. That's not me now. But going back, I was broken. He broke a lot of my spirit and so on. I didn't want to show him that though. So he would get mad if he would beat me or rape me. I wouldn't give him the satisfaction of crying, and that would annoy him. I wouldn't beg anymore. That would annoy him. He would expect me to grovel and beg. I wouldn't do that. So the punches or whatever would keep coming, the pushing and the shoving, the name calling, and I would just be very stone faced. And it almost felt like I was out of my body in several instances. Like I was watching this happen. It was a very surreal moment. I was watching it happen from somebody else. Now, were there spiritual aspects? You know what? There were some weird stuff that I had seen happen in our relationship. I mean, his eyes would turn colors. So was there some demonic things going on there? Yes, I truly believe that too. We can talk about that another day. Or if anybody wants to talk to me privately, message me. But was there a time where I ever felt safe with him? No. I think I was just going through the motions. I really did. And do. I think that again, in that survival mode, would I do it again? That's another question somebody asked me. Yes, I have 3 beautiful children. Now, my 2 girls are with me. I posted something recently where he had made mention about me kidnapping the kids. Sorry if hopefully this won't get flagged for anything. I did not steal my children away from him. All 3 of them, I gave my eldest 2 when we left decision. Okay, I didn't tell them, and up until the day we were going to leave, the night before, I told them, I'm leaving. I'm taking your sister with me. She was my youngest at the time. Do you want to come with me? And both older children, they said, yes, we don't want to stay. So we're leaving in the morning. So they knew ahead of time. I gave them a choice. I even asked them before we left. I said, okay, I am leaving. Do you 2 want to come with? My throat was my heart was in my throat when I did that because I did not want to leave these children. But I already had enough of a circus. I didn't want them to, me to be fighting with them to get them in the car. So I did ask. So they did come with me. Later on, I did have to give my eldest son back to my ex. He started a small fire in my then apartment, and he was also planning to kill me in my sleep. He brought 3 knives and was hoping to get his sisters to murder me as well. Fast forwarding again. So I ended up giving him back. That was one of the hardest things I had to do. But something later, harder came on, where after my divorce, at that time, it was one of the longest running divorces in Lake County, Indiana. Um, Finally, 2009, 2012 is when I finally was divorced from him. It was very long. It was very long for all of us. Mr. Awesome over here, he's smiling at me. It was very long. It was very intense. After I left, there was a stalking. I stayed with my sister. He didn't know. That's where I went afterwards. I had been squirreling away different things. I know I'm jumping around. I got to do this by I think of it. I had been squirreling away different things with my dad. My mom or my dad or my sister would come out to the antique shop and they would take things. Now, I'm talking like small things that I would make sure that would go unnoticed. I made copies of bills. I made copies of pay stubs from him, just so I had that because I knew that I would need it going forward. I don't know why I knew it, but I just guessed that I did. I made copies of my driver's license, birth certificates for the kids, medical stuff. I made copies of everything, and I would either mail them off or again give them to somebody to take. In that process, he started to get suspicious, which really freaked me out. I made the decision in November of 2008 that enough's enough. I don't know why he kept thinking that clothes were missing. I did not take clothes. It was creepy. I didn't take any clothes. I left the clothes there. I figured I wouldn't take clothes until the last minute if I needed to. If we needed to bolt in between them, we would just go with what we had on our backs. I've done it before. So I don't know why he knew though. It was really creepy. And I almost chickened out. So in January, we're still planning. I just remember he would see things coming out of the walls, arms, legs. He would see blood dripping down the walls. Throughout our marriage, he would see this. Throughout a relationship, he would hear voices. No, he is not schizophrenic. That's a question I get often asked. He is not schizophrenic. Of all things, he was not. He is not. He was not bipolar. He had a lot of other issues, being a psychopath, being just all sociopathic. Really and truly, those were the tendencies that he had. So in January, again, he's seeing these things. He's hearing things. If there was a sound that went on outside, we're downstairs in the house. Guess who would have to go check? He would make me go check. I would have to go check. Terry's like pussy. He would make me go check. I slept with a knife under my mattress because I wasn't sure if he wasn't going to do something to me at night. It wasn't uncommon for him to punch me or hit me or toss me out of bed. Sometimes I didn't sleep very well. Let's just say that. I'm giving you the cliff notes. There's so much more, but we don't have time. January, things started coming to a head where those things were starting to come in more force. He's seeing these things more coming out of the walls. Things are talking to him. And I truly believe those were demons following him and just talking to him. I really do. He would take his head and just start banging it on the wall, and just for no reason at all, just to get the thoughts and the voices out of his head. I would just lay there praying, my arm ready to grab my knife, and I was living in a very hypervigilant life and pattern right then and there. I was also, over the years, thinking of, again, I'm going backwards again, sorry. How can I kill this man? How can I? And I'm being transparent because it was going to be him or me. I had to make that decision. I thought of the different ways I could do it. And of course, I never did, but I knew it was him or me. I knew it was ramping up. And I even had somebody mention that to me that told me, you are not going to make it if you stay with him. By the end of the year, you're going to be dead. I knew I had to do something to protect myself. I had the knife under there. I had to leave. But I was still questioning whether I need to leave. I'm talking to God. God, do I need to go? should I go? I know I need to be prayerful in this. I know I need to stick with him. He's got issues. I need to be there with him. And there was a women's retreat coming up. It was a weekend. It was with that church I was with. And I thought, you know what? I asked permission to go because I had to ask permission. I asked him if I can go. He thought it was safe because I was just going with this group of women that he knew, because we were very involved in the church. So looking into our life from outside, you would see the perfect family unit. With that, but you knew that he was, and I would talk to people afterwards. They're like, yeah, I kind of knew he was a bully, but I didn't know it was that bad. Um, so they were okay to hang with. They were okay to hang with. So even up to that, and I was excited about going because they were going to have table topics about different things: abortion, uh, job, going back to work, being a stay-at-home mom, and so on and so on. One of them was divorce. So I really and truly wanted to get there so I could talk to somebody, so I can know it's okay, because you know what the Bible says about divorce. So I wanted to go there to talk to somebody. That day came, and I was so excited to go, but I was afraid for my kids. They weren't allowed to call me. When they got home from school, they would have to call him. They weren't allowed to call me because he hated the fact that the kids liked me more than him. Let that sink in. So they were not allowed to call me. They would get in trouble. You know, he'd yell at them if they called me. So even just to say, hey, Mom, I'm home from school, they weren't allowed to do that. They had to go physically greet him when he came home from work and give him hugs and kisses. If they didn't, it's because I'm turning them against him. So that was part of our thing. Ever since they were little, they had to go up to Dad and they had to go give him a hug and a kiss. They had to spend time with him. He would get really mad when they wanted to spend more time with me, like even snuggles in bed. That wasn't allowed if it was just me. They weren't allowed just to snuggle with me, because that's me turning the kids against him. So I wasn't allowed to do that. There were other rules too. Again, we don't have time for all those rules right now. Going forward, that women's retreat, it came. I did have fun. I called the kids as much as I could. My middle daughter, Jess, she snuck calls to me. God love her. She would sneak calls to me to tell me what was going on. And but I was still like sick to my stomach. I didn't want to go because I was so worried about what was going on. When that table topic on that last day, when that table topic came, I was there bright and early. I came a half hour beforehand. I was sitting there, got my Bible, got a notebook. I'm going to take notes. Can't wait to hear what someone's going to say. I'm sitting there, I'm drinking on some orange juice. I'm still feeling really sick to my stomach. I'm still planning on leaving. I just don't know when. But at the same time, again, this is my pause, okay? I'm going to wait for what God has to say. What is God going to say about this? Okay, so I'm waiting, getting antsy, just sitting there, kind of reading my Bible because I can't really soak it in because I'm so nervous. I'm so scared. A lady comes up to me. She's like, hey, honey, how you doing? And I'm like, oh, hey, I'm just waiting for this topic, and I'm really nervous about it. And she's like, oh, divorce. I'm like, oh, yeah. I'm waiting for the table topics. I'm like, oh, is that what this is? Divorce? Oh. And she's like, yeah, well, what's going on? Are you okay? And, I had this look on my face. She must have read it. And she's like, are you okay? And I just started crying. And I could not stop crying. And she's like, whoa. I thought she was going to run away, poor lady, but she didn't. She stayed there. And she listened to me. God bless her. It was my angel. Divine intervention right there. And as I'm telling her my story, as I'm pouring out everything, she stops me. You are not to blame. This is what she's telling me. It's not you. She said, honey, I have been a psychiatric nurse for over 20 plus years. He has issues. He has a lot of issues from the sounds of it, and you need to get away. God does not want this for you. God does not want you to be in a marriage like this. He does not want to see you broken. He does not want you to be beaten or called names or anything. That's not what his plan for marriage is, for this relationship. It's not what it is. It's okay for you to leave. And that was it. I started crying all over again, but that was I felt like my permission. Okay, I can go ahead and leave. I am safe to go. This is all right. And it was like a weight was off my shoulders. It really and truly was. It's like, okay, I don't have to pretend anymore. I can just leave. And she asked me to message her again to let her know that everything went okay, and I did, but I never heard from her again. And again, I just know that was a divine intervention there. So I did leave. I got a call. Again, I did not know when I was going to go. He's a seasonal worker. He's off during the wintertime, wintertime. Usually doesn't go back until February, March, April. So I am just waiting. My family's in the wings just waiting. When do you want to go? And I knew I had to wait for the right time. Now, I'm not encouraging everyone to do this, but you got to do what you got to do in survival mode. I was able to plan this way too, which really helped. Sometimes you don't get a chance to plan. Like the very first time I left him in 2007, we just left. So you don't always have that time. So if you are in a situation where it's very volatile, you just go. Just pick up whatever you got and you just go. So for me, I was able to plan. I finally got the call like a night or two. I think it was the night before, day before he was going to go to work. He was going to be in this hole. He does waterproofing. He's going to be in this hole. So he's like, Mel, I won't be able to call you or talk to you that often because I'm going to be in this hole. Communications, my cell phone's not going to work. And I'm thinking, yes, Jesus. Yes, Lord. Yes, you're on. We can see you. We can see you back there.
You're shooting over there.
Mr. Awesome, by the way. Oh, brings me to another question. His name is Terry. Mr. Awesome's name is Terry in real life.
Sorry.
So yes, he's waving over here for those that are listening on the podcast. So that is his name in real life is Terry. So going back, got the call. I was able to, since it was early enough in the day, I went to the antique shop again that I was working at. I called my sister from there and I told her because I couldn't call her on my cell phone because he would go through my cell phone. He would watch who I was calling. Not only did he watch my mileage, but he also would watch who I'm calling. That's why my parents came, my sister would come and get stuff because he would watch my mileage. I couldn't go drive to them without having a good excuse. So I called her when I got to the shop and let her know it's going on. Okay, it's going on. This is what's going to happen. And so we started planning. She planned, I planned, let my dad know what was going on. So everybody was on board. So I had to wait until he left. So he would leave around, I think he left around 5:30. I don't even remember right now. I have it written down somewhere, but he left. We flew into, I just grabbed, who knows about suitcases? I wasn't even thinking suitcases. I grabbed garbage bags. I was just tossing stuff in garbage bags. I'm throwing stuff in there. I'm thinking, what can I take? Just essentials. There were things that I probably wish I could have took later on. I took the jewelry box. I took the futon. I took whatever I could shove in my van as soon as he left. I was just like in that mode. I was hot and sweaty and cold at the same time. Just so scared. I was really worried that he was going to come back. I had called my sister from the house phone that morning to let her know, okay, he's gone. So, the minute he left our driveway, I waited, I paused for just a brief moment of time just to make sure he wouldn't turn around. Probably like an hour into me frantically, and the kids are still sleeping because they're not going to school today. They're not going to school. I already told them. I planned it with the school, told them what's going on. I've got them enrolled in their new school. So I did that beforehand. Of course, the principal at the school was like, hey, whatever I got to do for you, I will help you. So I'm throwing stuff in, the phone rings. I can't breathe. I'm like, and I'm trying to do I answer it? Don't I answer it? What do I do? Because I know if I don't answer that phone, that's going to signal him where am I at. So I answered the phone like on the third or fourth ring. He's like, why did it take so long for you to answer? I said, he's like, you're out of breath. Are you effing somebody? And I was like, no, I was exercising. I was an exercise fanatic and he knew this. He wanted me to be a certain size. I had to be like a size 6'8", again, I'm a fluffy girl. I was not a size 6 or 8, but I was to the point where I was not eating enough. I was binging, and then I would exercise. I didn't throw up because I do not like throwing up, but I would, funny thing, yeah, I don't like throwing up, but I would starve myself, starve myself, binge. I would binge when I was, I'm an emotional eater. And so whenever I was really sad or depressed, I would emotionally eat. Then I would starve myself. I would eat in front of him, but he would have to see my plate and what I was eating because otherwise I'd be a pig. He called me a pig. Um, so I had to watch what I was eating. So I was exercising an hour, 2 hours, 7 days a week. My adrenals, let's just say after I left, I found out I had no adrenals left. It was terrible. My hair was falling out, stomach issues, constipation. I know without TMI, right? And that January, going backwards again, that January, I thought I was having a heart attack. I didn't know what was wrong. I had no idea what was wrong with me, but I was having chronic constipation issues. But I thought I was having a heart attack. He took me to the ER. He was mad that he had to take me to the ER because he was missing The Simpsons. Yes, he was missing The Simpsons. So he was very angry with me. And he's like, they better find something wrong with you or else, or you better be dying. And when we got there, as it turns out, I was having a panic attack. They told me that someone was able to talk to me privately and says, you're having a panic attack, anxiety, you have anxiety. They asked if I needed help. I didn't, but I know he's like, I hope you die. When he came back in the room later on, he's like, I hope you die. I hope you die. So he's like, the world will be better off without you. You need to die. Of course, I didn't die. Here I am today. I was just crying. I was crying inside. And again, that solidified I needed to leave. I needed to leave. So I was able to talk him down he believed me that I was okay. I got back, started doing everything we can. And then he kept calling. My sister finally showed up. We did one. I was hoping to do 2 lower fulls, but you know what? She goes, you know what? We filled up her car too. She said, you got what you got. We'll figure it out later. You got what you got. So we ended up by 9 o'clock. I think he left around 5:30, 6 o'clock, something like that. But by 9 o'clock, we were packed. Kids were in the car. They were on their way to, and I was on my way to destination. Um, it was just a phenomenal minute where I felt free. I felt the weight off my shoulders. I felt so many other different emotions. What if he finds me? What if he finds out? What if he figures it out? He's calling me. I'm not picking up. He called. I can't even begin to tell you how many more times he kept calling me 5, 6, 10, 15, 20 within an hour, 20, 30 times. He's leaving me voicemails. I'm not picking up. So he knows something's wrong. That evening, he did show up at my sister's house. He was crying. I'm sorry. I don't know what I did wrong. I'll do whatever I can. I'll fix whatever it is. Whatever you say, Mel, I'll do. Just come back. I love you. I love the kids. I can't imagine why you left. I thought we were good. What's wrong? If we were having problems, why didn't you try and talk to me? I'll do counseling. Now, see, we had tried counseling before. After I left in 2007, he was doing scrambling, doing whatever he could. He was on meds. We did try counseling, but the counselors that we went to, the one we went to for sure, she was a she. He would find some reason not to go to her. She's on your side. She doesn't believe anything I say. And let me also clarify, couples counseling, when you're in an abusive relationship, when you're both together in that room with that counselor, does not work, because you as the victim cannot speak your truth. Like Mike said, you cannot speak your truth in front of your abuser. You will not be able to. And if you do, you'll probably have repercussions. But you cannot be free enough to speak what's on your mind when you have that person in there. That could be a very volatile time as well. So I knew that. When later on, when he saw his psychiatrist, and we would see psychiatrists, I would be prepped before that. He would prep me and say, okay, you don't tell him what's going on. You tell him everything's fine. Don't you say anything or else. So if everything was okay, if everything was just fine with our relationship, why would you have to go ahead and threaten me? I wouldn't say that, but I would think that in my mind. So it seemed off. Why do I have to be quiet? So something was wrong. I knew that in my heart of hearts that it wasn't right, that this wasn't right. So we tried the counseling. It doesn't work. Again, if you're looking to do counseling, please do so, but do it separately. Do it separately with somebody that you trust. Look for trauma informed counselor if you can too. Ask friends, family. So we did the counseling. It didn't work. So many things that we tried to do and it didn't work. We went to a couples retreat with some books that I had read and it didn't work. I mean, we would have magic for after fighting. We would have this wonderful time afterwards where it'd be great. He might buy me flowers. He might buy me things. That was his thing. He would always buy me things. I'm not that type of person. He would be mad that I would go to garage sales and get thrifted items. He always had to have things that were new. He didn't like thrifted items. He didn't like old stuff. Like most of you know me, know that I love thrifted items. I am a dumpster girl. I will dumpster dive. So I don't mind hand-me-downs. For him, that was a poverty thing, and he wanted to keep up with the Joneses. If you've ever heard that, it means you're trying to have the social status and put on airs that you are all that in a bag of potato chips when you're not, when you're only like a little fun-sized bag. And so he was always doing these grandiose things, these things where he had to keep up with everybody. And that wasn't me. I had all these latest, neatest gadgets, kitchen gadgets. I never used. That's not me. So that's rings, jewelry. I had jewelry and things that we couldn't afford. We were living on, what is it they say? The saying where you're living on a champagne taste on a beer budget. That was us. We were maxed out on our credit and so on. We filed bankruptcy several times. We're just living to show out to others that we were being affluent. We weren't. We weren't. But I was so grateful that I was able to leave. The police came. They told him he needed to leave. He wanted to say goodnight to the kids. The kids didn't want to see him, but they did come down. They said goodnight to him, and then they went back up. After that, started more phone calls. It started more harassing. First, in the very beginning when I left, the phone calls were like, well, I love you. Again, I'll do anything I can. Let's make this work. What can I tell you? Can we meet together? Can we just talk it out? It was very sweet. The first hour were very sweet calls. Afterwards, that's when they started getting more threatening. If you don't come, I'm going to kill myself. You get over here. Who are you screwing around with? Who's the other man? Who are you seeing? Just insisting that I was seeing somebody else. And that wasn't uncommon throughout our entire relationship. I never did anything outside of our relationship. I didn't have an affair. I didn't do anything like that. I kept to my vows. He stepped out from time to time, but I didn't do that. I couldn't do that. He would get progressively worse and worse and worse as those phone calls came. I didn't call the police. Now, looking back, hindsight, I should have called the police and told them that these were the calls. Here, listen to them. And I could have filed a report then. I did file a protective order the next day, and that was good. But he hired somebody to follow me, to stalk me. I did not know this person. So I wasn't looking out for their car. I was looking out for his car, for Rob's car. I was not looking out for this other guy's car, Skippy. I didn't look for Skippy's car. My then nephew, who's no longer with me, no longer with us on this earthly plane, he said, Aunt Mel, I can't do this anymore. I can't lie to you anymore. Uncle Robbie came to me and he asked me if I can get him in touch with somebody that would help him. So as it turns out, he hired this gentleman, I use that loosely, to stalk me. He would take pictures and then report back to Rob. Later on, he wanted my then nephew and his friends, acquaintances, to kill me. It was murder for hire. Some money was exchanged. Half of it was exchanged. They would get the other half once it was done. He gave them a camera, gave them a shovel, and whatever else, I don't know, rope or something as well. He wanted that deed done because I wasn't coming back. I wasn't listening. By this time, he had also went into St. Mary's, St. Margaret's Hospital for evaluation because, again, he was going to commit suicide. And he did, and he's still around. But with the murder for hire, again, my nephew felt so bad. They did, all the people that were involved in the situation did go and file a report. They did speak. They put it's on paper that this was what was going to happen or planned to happen. So I had people, they were kind enough and wonderful enough to come forward and say, yeah, this is what he has planned. This is also around the time, and this is in Griffith, Indiana, in that time where there was a horrendous murder that happened. So right around that time as well. I mean, I think it was like the day after, right around that time is when my situation, and then the detective he's like, I'm sorry, I know you've got this case going on, but we have this case. And I don't think anything else came of that with that, but also the member of church that the church that we were at had somebody that was in a high position in the police with that police department. And I believe because he had called me, the police officer had called me, that was our friend, and was trying to get me to go back. And I said no. I respected him, lost a little respect after that day. But at that time I respected him and I listened to what he had to say, but I did not go back. Regardless of that, the case was kind of shoved under the rug. The detective on my case said, these guys are not credible witnesses. I asked him, I said, so who would be a credible witness? Because they all had some sort of legal issues. They've all had a criminal background. I said, who are you going to ask to kill a person? But somebody that might have a criminal background. They've willingly come and said, this is what's going to happen. That they've gotten money for this. They've been paid. But this is not credible. So my case was closed. We continued to be, by this time I had started dating Mr. Awesome. One other question, pausing right now, another question I'm asked often is, how did you two meet? I'm going on the record. Again, I've said this before. I didn't have any romantic dealings with Mr. Awesome, with Terry, before leaving my ex. My ex was eventually consumed with believing that Terry was the father of 2 of my children, maybe 3. He's not. I had met Terry in 2008. He was a vendor at the antique shop where I was managing with Rob's family. He came in as a consignor. I liked him. He was cute. But it wasn't anything more than that. I sold his stuff. He was downsizing. He was going to travel throughout the U.S. with his little dog, Maggie, and he was hoping to get into FEMA at that time to work there. And so that's how I knew him. He was just a consignor. He was just a guy. Any man that Rob would think that I was fooling around with, if Rob was there at the shop, he would make me leave and go do something else. I'd have to go upstairs. It was an upstairs to this antique shop. So, but with Terry, there was nothing. There was nothing there. Now, I did break down in front of Terry and his brother one time, and Terry said afterwards, you know what? He gave me his number. I already had his number. He's like, you know what? You leave the guy. I'll buy you a celebratory drink. I didn't think anything of it. There's so much more, but that was it. Just literally, he was my consignor. Didn't think anything of it, because at that time, in that mindset, when I'm getting ready to leave, the furthest thing from my mind is, let's have another guy. Let's go on a date. No, no, I was not thinking anything further than I needed to get to safety. So despite what he thought, I was not having an affair. I was not having an affair with Terry. Again, that was many months later. Terry jokes about it now, saying, hey, you waited so long to call me after leaving the guy. no, really and truly, that was the furthest thing from my mind. I was more concerned about getting myself to safety, but getting my kids out to safety. I didn't want them to be born into this where they would believe that this is normal. I didn't want them to see this as a normal relationship because this was not normal. None of this is normal. This is, I'm going on an hour. This is not a normal relationship. Going forward, I've had on and off talk with my eldest. He's been with his dad. He left his dad briefly, where we were able to reconnect verbally over the phone and email and messaging. And I was really excited that maybe there's a possibility that we can physically reconnect. He moved somewhere else. He was away from his dad. And I was actually starting to talk to him about, being a victim and healing. I was able to get through to him and talk to him about that. And I was so excited. But then unfortunately, some different crises happened with him. He needed to be under his dad's insurance. He has some health issues and he had some money problems. So I don't know exactly what happened, but I know he was back with his dad. I haven't heard from him since. I think it's going on 2 years again. So we're estranged again. My other girls, again, I did not snatch them. They went willingly. And I'm glad they did. They do not want to have conversation with dad. Dad is remarried. And so they do not want to have any contact with him. They've text him. They've, I think they might have left a message once or twice. They've emailed him to let him know, please stop messaging. Please, we don't want to have any contact with you. But he doesn't believe it's them. He believes it's me making these words, forcing these girls to say this. They are adults now. They are grown-ass women. They can make up their own minds. I am not making them say, you can't see dad. I've given them his phone number. My oldest Jess does not want to see him because there is alleged molestation that happened. She was open. Actually, she confided in her now husband, who was then her boyfriend, and he's the one that told me about it. I had no idea. This was after my divorce, because if I had done it, because there was family that said, well, if that really happened, why didn't you press charges? If my divorce was still not finalized, if I was able to press charges, I would have. She asked me not to. She asked me not to go to the police. I was trying to honor her wishes, but I did contact somebody in the police. At that time, there were statutes and so on, so they had passed. I wasn't able to press any charges. Now she can, now that she's an adult, she can go ahead and press charges. She can do that. She said, though, she's forgiven him. That opened up a whole new thing for me for forgiveness. There's other things there that I can't go into details because I don't want to speak for my eldest son. There's other things there. I know there is because of different hints that he's left. Have I found forgiveness? I thought I found forgiveness. This is another question. I thought I found forgiveness for him after we left, after the divorce. But once I found out about the alleged molestation, I think I took it back. I was very angry. I was very mad what he did to my babies, and I knew it. I had moments where I knew something was wrong, but I couldn't prove it. I couldn't prove it. I've said the words. I've tried to give it to God. I don't want to take it back. I don't feel angry like I did. I don't feel bitter towards him. I still pray for him. I pray for him to get help. I've recently blocked him. If you followed me for a while, you're like, what? Why did you block him a long time ago? You're always preaching about blocking him. He is, again, most of these people want control. So what he was doing, he has insurance, really good insurance. That was one reason why I was still considering staying with him, because of his insurance. He had really good insurance. So my daughter, my youngest daughter, she's still in her mid-20s or younger, early 20s. So she's still covered by his insurance. And she has had some issues where she needs medication. So that's his way of controlling us, by keeping the insurance, even though he is the one that filed paperwork when she was 18 to sever his parental ties to her. He said, hey, I'm done. he did that so he didn't have to pay me child support. Now, the child support that he was getting was what I was getting was far and few between. Mama was making a lot of the things that paying for everything that the kids needed. He didn't want me to have payment. The kids saw that though. The kids, they know, they're smart. They see how he's acting stupid. They see how what he's saying. So they're not dumb. They're making their own assumptions. Again, this is why some of the reasons why they don't want to be with him is things that he did, things they've experienced when they were a child. So I didn't even have to say anything. I made sure I would not talk poorly in front of them about their dad. If they asked me about how court went, it's like, you know what? You just worry about school. Now, hindsight, was that good or bad? I still think it was a good decision for me not to besmirch his name. And even through it, when they wanted to call him, especially my oldest son, he wanted to call him Robert or Rob. I said, no, he's still your dad. You may not like him right now, but respect the position. Now, whether that's a good or bad thing, I don't know. But that's what I told them from the beginning. He's still dad. He's still dad. Now, the girls right now want to call him the sperm donor. We can call him the sperm donor. That's fine. But they're adults now. They can talk to him about him however they want. And so I still pray for him. I, again, blocked him in January. He still loves me. He still asks me to come back to him. Yes, he is remarried. I don't know what she knows. I tried to contact her, but I think I'm getting him. At one point in time, I did get an email from her saying she didn't want to be as in my drama, that I'm a drama mama. And that is true. In the very beginning, you can get wrapped up in, there's a lot of hormones that go on with leaving and being in that abusive relationship. You're in that heightened state of always your adrenaline's up, your cortisol is up, everything is up and high. So when you come after you've left that abusive relationship, then you're in this like, oh my gosh, I don't have abuse in my life anymore. So not that I was looking for it, but it almost always seemed to find me. I would always seem to be in some sort of drama or situation. So, or I was looking for him I just got really addicted to him calling me. It was like, oh, would he message me now? In order to keep that going. So it was very bizarre for me not to have that. Now that life seems surreal. That whole thing seems surreal. That whole madness. I was looking for a camera. I mean, it's like, is there someone following me? What's going on? This sounds so crazy. Who hires someone to kill another person? It's like something out of a movie. There were things that were happening that just sounded like it was Hollywood. I had a stack, I kid you not, of protective orders and different issues. I had you ever heard of a red rope? Well, it's a big file from my attorney that I had. And I actually had two red ropes, two big files from all of my legal issues that I had with my ex, whether it's protective orders or judge hearings and pretrials and so on and so on. It was crazy. Would I do it again? Yes, I would, because again, I have those 3 children. How do I notice? I'm trying to get this real quick because I want to really wrap this up. How do I know after leaving if I'm healing? Well, the sign is when you're leaving, you're confused, you're jumpy, you're scattered in your thoughts. You might find drama all over the place. You could be very tired. You feel sick. You feel very emotional. Now, signs that you are healing, you might start feeling peaceful. Your ex might not be in your head anymore. You might not hear their voice, or you might not hear it as often. You might be able to, again, you're not thinking of them. I went through one time where I was driving in the car and the question in my mind is like, man, do I need to get a haircut? I did not think of my ex at that moment. Throughout that whole time, through that whole day, it was like a revelation, like, I'm not thinking about him. I'm thinking, do I need a haircut? That was a big thing for me. It became very emotional for me. I know I ended up bawling and crying, but it was very big for me. So signs that I was healing. I wanted to keep pushing forward. I know I needed to get out of the funk that I was feeling in the very beginning, and to start that self-love, that self-care that I thought was so stupid in the beginning. And I did. I thought it was dumb in the very beginning. I didn't think it was going to work. I'm like, this is so stupid. I had all these years of deprogramming that I needed to do. That's what you need to do. You need to deprogram, really and truly, because you were being injected with all of this madness, all of the things that this person has on themselves. Their beliefs, they're putting it on you, those negative beliefs. So I needed to crush that and just stomp on it and to get those out of my head to be the person I am now. That's why some people have asked me, you don't look like you've went through anything. I've been through hell and back. But I've done the work in order to climb from that valley up to this mountain. That's where I have. And I've also had a lot of faith. I also couldn't have done it without God. And I also couldn't have done it without the people that He planted in my life and without listening to what He told me that He wanted me to do. I had to do that. I had to do that in order to be where I am right now, to be smiling, to even be sharing this with you. Again, I don't want to make this any longer. I've already lost a lot of people on here anyway, and that's not the goal. The goal is to get my story out there so you can understand wherever you are, you can start planning. You're not alone. You can get through this. It's going to be tough, but there are resources out there. There is the hotline.org. There's domesticshelters.org as well if you need to find a place to stay. I get this a lot, like, I don't want to stay at a shelter. These are so crappy by me, or they're dirty or something. Then you go to one that's 50 miles away. You find one that's 100 miles away. We're not going here for a hotel. This isn't the Ritz. This is a place for you to get yourself safe temporarily. While you're in there, you plan. If they have resources, you take those resources and you use them. You use them for you to get ahead, to get better. You keep planning for that one step ahead. Don't take 2 steps forward, or back, I should say. And it might happen. It happens. But you keep looking forward. Your eyes going forward. Always going forward. I knew I didn't want to stay in that apartment that I was in after I left my sister. And then I went to an apartment. I knew I wasn't going to stay there. I wanted to get into a house. I wanted to get a better job. I went through several jobs after I left my ex. And I just kept going. I squirreled away money in order to open up a checking account. There's things that I did that I planned. If you want to talk more, I'm happy to talk with you. I've also shared this on different podcasts, different blog posts, and so on, which I'm happy to share with you. I'm happy to hold space for you wherever you are right now, whether you're planning to leave, whether you think you need to leave, whether you're not sure if you need to leave, whether you have already left that person, whether it's been a year, whether it's been 2, been 10 years, 15, and you still realize and recognize the enormity of the feelings of unprocessed grief, unprocessed trauma that you might have. I am happy to sit with wherever you are and hold space for you. I do this because I know, I understand, and I want you to know that you are loved, you are worthy, and you can break free. You can break free of those chains that are holding you in bondage. And I want you to know that, again, you are safe. So this is Melinda. I'm going to sign off. Again, I went a little longer. But again, if you have any questions, any comments, I've shared a lot, but I didn't share enough. There's so much more. By all means, message me privately. I'm happy to talk to you. Please, if you found any value in this, share. There is somebody else out there in your circle, in your social media circle, that you don't realize is suffering in silence. I talk to people, other traumas as well, emotional traumas, whether it's abortion or whether you're going through a divorce the first time and it's just, you've never had any type of abuse or toxic trauma, whether you're dealing with a toxic parent, message me. Okay. And I would appreciate that going forward, letting you know if you are in the Northwest Indiana, Southwest suburbs of Illinois. I'm happy for coffee. Message me. We can do a virtual chat. My tummy's growling. I'm hungry. Let you go. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thank you for tuning in. For everybody that showed up, Mike, thank you for chiming in and sharing some wisdom and just some kind words. I appreciate it. God bless and stay safe. And I'm going to start turning everybody off now, starting with Facebook. Sayonara, Facebook.